She didn't look at me once during the vows. Her eyes were on him, her ex, the man sitting 2 rows behind the groom's family, clenching his jaw so hard I could see the muscles twitch from where I stood. She wore white like a weapon, not a promise. And when she said, "I do," it felt like a war declaration, not a beginning. I knew what I was to her before I even signed the marriage license. A pawn, a message, a perfectly timed detonation. But I agreed. I let her marry me because I was desperate enough to believe I could survive the fire without catching. I was wrong. The first time she kissed me, public, calculated, in front of cameras, I felt her lips press against mine like she was sealing a deal with the devil. I kissed her back because I didn't know how not to. She smelled like danger and money and wild orchids. Her name was Callista. Callista fucking Morveau. Heiress. Socialite. Ice queen. And now legally my wife. She didn't ask me anything personal before the wedding. Not where I was from. Not what I wanted. Not who I was beneath the sharp suit sheet had tailored for me. She only wanted one thing. Obedience. And maybe, just maybe, the satisfaction of watching his heart break in real time. He had cheated on her. Humiliated her. Traded her for a blonde with a flat laugh and perfect pedigree. And Callista, in return, had found me. The nobody bartender who once served her top-shelf whiskey without blinking, who didn't flinch when she insulted the lighting or complained about the chill in the air. I suppose I passed some kind of test that night. Or maybe I just looked like someone she could use. I signed the prenup without reading it. She slid it across the marble island in her penthouse kitchen like it was just another receipt. "This is temporary," she said without looking up. "We'll divorce in a year. You'll be compensated for your time." If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. Like it was jury duty. Like she wasn't asking me to sleep beside her for 365 nights while pretending to be someone I wasn't. "Fine," I replied, not because I was fine, but because I didn't want her to see how badly I needed the money. Or maybe how badly I wanted to matter to someone, even if it was fake. The wedding was cold, elegant, sterile. White roses and obsidian glass and candlelight that made her skin look even paler, like a statue carved in vengeance. When she slipped the ring onto my finger, her hand trembled, but not for me. No, she was watching his reaction. He didn't flinch, not visibly, but she smiled like she'd won something anyway. The first night we were alone in the same bed, she turned off the light without saying goodnight. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she could feel my pulse racing inches away. "You can sleep on the left," she said finally. Her voice was colder than the silk sheets between us. "I don't snore, if that's what you're worried about." I wasn't. I was worried about the way her voice made something inside me ache, deep and sharp and sudden. I was worried about how beautiful she looked in shadows. I was worried I already wanted her, and I didn't know how to make it stop. We didn't speak much the first week. She had parties to attend, appearances to keep up. I stood beside her like a living accessory, smiled when she squeezed my hand, laughed when she fed lines to the paparazzi. And when we got home, I took off the heels she insisted I wear and rubbed my aching arches in silence while she disappeared into her suite. Until one night, she didn't. "Why did you say yes?" she asked, standing in my doorway in a black silk robe that barely reached her thighs. "To the wedding." I should have lied. Said something about admiration or fame or wanting to help her hurt him. But instead, I said, because I wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted, even if it wasn't real. She looked at me like she wasn't expecting that answer. Then she crossed the room and sat on the edge of my bed. The mattress dipped under her weight. Her bare leg brushed mine. "He said I was boring," she said flatly. "Predictable. That he needed someone with more warmth." She looked at me then, really looked like I was a mirror she was scared to see herself in. "Am I boring to you?" My throat dried. My heart banged against my ribs. I swallowed. "No." You're terrifying. Her lips twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. Then she leaned in, so close I could see the gold flecks in her irises. Good, she whispered. I'd rather be terrifying than invisible. And then she kissed me again, not for the cameras, not for the game. She kissed me because she wanted to forget him. And I kissed her back because I wanted her to remember me. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was bruising and raw and wrong in all the ways that felt right. When her hand slid under my shirt, I didn't stop her. When she pushed me back and climbed over me, I let her. When she said my name like it hurt, I answered her with my mouth, my hands, my body. I gave her everything, not because she asked, but because I couldn't help it. Afterwards, she lay beside me without speaking. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers, still tangled with mine, trembled slightly. I wanted to ask her what it meant. I wanted to ask if she felt it too. But I stayed quiet, afraid that if I named it, it would disappear. This doesn't change anything, she said finally, staring at the ceiling. But her voice didn't sound sure. I know, I lied. It was just a mistake. Her jaw tightened. Don't call it that. I turned my head, watched her profile in the dark. Then what should I call it? She didn't answer. But she didn't leave either. And that silence said more than anything else could have. The next morning, she was gone before I woke. A note on my pillow read, "Dinner at 8. Wear the red dress. And smile." I smiled anyway. Not because she told me to, but because something inside me, something stupid and hopeful, already belonged to her. Even if she married me for revenge. Even if she kissed me to forget. Even if she never loved me back. I was already hers. And I didn't know how to come back from that. The red dress was a warning. Slipping into it felt like wrapping myself in danger, one silk thread at a time. It clung to me like a secret, backless and bold, the kind of dress that didn't whisper but screamed. When I walked into the dining room at 8 sharp, she was already seated at the head of the table, swirling wine in a crystal glass like a queen entertaining a subject. Her eyes moved over me slowly, and I felt it everywhere. "You're late," she said, though I wasn't. I didn't answer. I simply took the seat across from her, legs crossed, heart bracing for whatever came next. The table between us was long and cold, set with more silverware than any human needed in one meal. The food looked untouched. Callista, however, looked devastating. Her hair was pinned back, revealing the sharp line of her jaw, her collarbone exposed just enough to ruin me. She wore black tonight. Always black, as if mourning something, maybe herself. "You didn't come to bed," I said. Her smile was slow, unreadable. "Is that what we're doing now? Counting absences?" "I just thought after last night. What happened last night was a mistake." She cut in, voice cool but tight. "I told you not to call it that." I reminded her, and for a second, I saw the mask slip, just for a heartbeat. Then it was back. "You are useful," she said. "Necessary. It won't happen again." I let the lie hang in the air between us like smoke. Because we both knew it would. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tomorrow. But it would. Because the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching wasn't something you could undo. And the way I was starting to crave that look, hungry, pained, almost reverent, was something I couldn't hide. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the sound of cutlery against porcelain the only thing anchoring us to the room. Then, abruptly, she said, "He's invited us to his engagement party." My fork froze. "You're kidding." "Unfortunately not. His fiancée sent the invitation herself." "How generous." Her eyes sparkled with something bitter. "They want to parade their happiness. Rub it in." "So we'll rub back," I said before I could stop myself. Her head tilted slightly. "Careful. You're starting to sound like me." "Maybe I am." The words came out low, dangerous. Her lips parted slightly. Something shifted in her gaze, something that made my pulse spike. Then she stood, walked around the table, came to my side and leaned down, close enough for her perfume to wrap around me like a spell. "If you're going to play this role," she whispered, "you need to convince them we're in love." Her breath ghosted against my ear. I turned my head, and suddenly our faces were inches apart. Is that what we're doing now? I asked, voice barely steady. Convincing everyone? Or just ourselves? Her fingers brushed my chin. Both, she said, and then she kissed me, slowly, deliberately, like she was daring me to fall deeper. I didn't pull away. I kissed her back like I wanted to own her. And for a moment, I felt her melt into it, her hand tightening in my hair, her body pressing against mine like she forgot it was all for show. But then she pulled back. Don't confuse performance with intimacy, she said, already walking away. The lines blur too easily. They already have. I muttered to the empty room. The night of the engagement party came fast. The venue was all white marble and chandeliers and polished perfection. She wore a gown that could kill a man with a glance. I wore confidence like a blade, sharp and necessary. From the moment we stepped in, all eyes were on us. She held my hand like a trophy. I smiled like I belonged to her. And when he saw us, her ex, the man who thought he'd broken her, his expression was worth every second of this charade. His fiancée looked lovely and empty, a pale ghost beside him. Callista leaned in, whispered something in my ear that made me laugh. Genuine, bright, unstoppable. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying. I wasn't pretending anymore. Somewhere between the cold vows and the heated kisses, I'd stopped acting. I was in this. I was hers. And it wasn't about money or survival or revenge anymore. It was about her. All of her. Even the parts that scared me. Especially those. Later, after too much champagne and too many glances, I found her alone on a balcony, overlooking the city. Her hands gripped the edge like she was trying not to fall. You look happy in there, I said. She didn't turn. Wasn't that the point? You don't have to keep proving something to him, I said softer. You won. She exhaled, a shaky sound. You think this feels like winning? I moved closer, careful, until I was right behind her. It feels like you're bleeding in a dress made of diamonds, I said. Beautiful, sharp, and impossible to touch without getting hurt. She turned then. Her eyes were glossy, defiant. You don't know me. Then let me, I said. Let me know the parts of you no one else stayed long enough to see. For a long second, she just stared at me. And then she kissed me like she needed to. Like the only way to stay standing was with my mouth on hers, with my arms around her. This time, there was no audience. No cameras. No lies. Just us. Just two women trying to feel something real in a world made of pretense. She didn't say a word when we stumbled into the back of the limo. She just climbed into my lap and kissed me until the city blurred behind tinted glass. And that night, when we collapsed into bed tangled and breathless, she said my name like a confession. Over and over. Until I almost believed it meant something. Until I almost believed I wasn't just a stand-in. Until I almost forgot she never planned to love me. But I didn't forget. I couldn't. Because the closer she pulled me in, the more I saw the cracks in her armor. And somewhere deep in those cracks, I saw her fear. Raw and real and aching. The fear that I might be the one thing she hadn't planned for. The fear that I might be able to hurt her, too. She started calling me darling in public. Not in a sweet way, not in a tender whisper, but in the kind of tone that made it sound like a challenge. Like she was daring me not to flinch. Darling, the press is here. Darling, fix your lipstick. Darling, smile. And I always did, because her voice had the power to slide under my skin like a blade dipped in honey. I started to forget what it felt like not to want her. Not to crave every stolen moment of softness she accidentally let slip. Like the way she brushed my hair back when she thought I was asleep. Or how her breath hitched when I touched her bare back in the dark, trailing my fingers down the curve of her spine like I was learning a language only she spoke. There was nothing soft about Callista Morveau. But with me, sometimes there were cracks. Tiny, splintering fractures in the armor she wore like skin. And I memorized each one like a map. I didn't know if she noticed the way I studied her. The way I started recognizing her moods before she spoke. The way I adjusted to her silence, her storms, her sudden tenderness that always vanished too fast. We had been married 6 weeks when she invited me to her family estate. "My mother wants to meet you," she said, tossing the words over her shoulder like they meant nothing. "Don't let her see you bleed." "Sounds charming," I said dryly. She smiled without warmth. "She won't be." The estate was a monster carved out of stone and old money, perched on a cliff that overlooked nothing but fog and sea and the weight of legacies built on silence. Her mother was everything I feared, polished, cruel, and impossibly beautiful. She looked at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. "So, this is your wife," she said to Callista, not even pretending to make eye contact with me. "How /quaint. She's exactly what I need," Callista replied smoothly, slipping her arm around my waist. Her fingers dug into my side like a warning. Or maybe a plea. "Of course she is," her mother said, lips twitching. "You always did love your little acts of rebellion. This one's just wearing nicer clothes." I didn't flinch. I looked her in the eye and said, "Funny. She told me you'd be cold, but I didn't realize you were also outdated." Callista's fingers tensed against me. Her mother blinked. Then, slowly, she laughed. "Well, at least you have a spine." Dinner was a quiet war. Every comment her mother made was a knife dressed as conversation. Every sip of wine was another volley. And through it all, Callista sat with a perfect smile and storm in her eyes. Later, when we were finally alone in one of the guest rooms that felt more like a mausoleum than a place for rest, she stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself. "She doesn't love anyone," she said softly. "She taught me how to survive by being colder than anyone else." I walked up behind her, gently placing my hands on her hips. "You're not her." "No," she said, almost to herself. "I'm worse." "You're not," I said, and I meant it. "You're just terrified of being left behind." She turned then, eyes wide, the storm finally breaking. "Don't pretend you know me." "I do know you," I said, voice shaking. "And it's killing me." "Why?" she asked, almost a whisper. "Because I'm not supposed to matter to you," I admitted. "But you do, and it's destroying me one day at a time." She didn't answer. She just kissed me, hard, desperate, like she was trying to shut me up with her mouth. We crashed back against the bed, clothes tearing, breath gasping, the space between us vanishing. And when she said my name again and again that night, it didn't sound like a game. It sounded like she was asking me to stay. We returned to the city changed. Something had shifted in her. She became quiet, more careful. She stopped making biting remarks in public. She touched my hand when no one was watching. One morning, I woke up to find her curled against me, her head on my chest, one arm draped possessively around my waist. I didn't move. I just lay there, holding my breath, afraid that if I shifted, she'd remember who she was supposed to be and vanish into the cold again. But she didn't. She stayed. Then came the gala. One of those impossibly expensive charity events full of people who smiled with their teeth and whispered with their knives. We arrived hand in hand, the very image of marital bliss. She wore a navy gown cut to destroy, and I wore confidence and red lipstick like armor. People stared. They always stared. But that night, she only looked at me. When I excused myself to the restroom, she caught my hand and whispered, "Come back fast." 3 little words. But they ruined me. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror, trying to remember who I was before her. I couldn't. I was halfway back when I saw him. The ex. The reason for all of this. He was drunk. Too drunk. And he was waiting by the ballroom entrance, like a ghost trying to claw his way back into the story. "You think she actually cares about you?" he sneered. "You're just the knife she used to stab me." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. But then he grabbed my wrist. Hard. And that's when I saw her. Callista, walking straight toward us, heels clicking like gunfire. Her expression could have shattered diamonds. "Let her go," she said, voice low and lethal. He laughed, but he let go. "Look at you," he said to her, "pretending to be in love with someone who'll never be good enough for you. She's better than you ever were." Callista said, stepping between us. And she never pretended. Not once. Then she took my hand, pulled me away, and we didn't stop until we were outside, breathless under the stars. "Are you okay?" she asked, her hands cradling my face. "Yes," I said. "But are you?" She didn't answer. She just kissed me again. And this time, it didn't feel like a distraction. It felt like a decision. After the kiss beneath the stars, something shifted that neither of us dared to name. We returned to the penthouse like something feral and fragile was following us, a feeling that clung to the hem of her designer gown and the pulse in my throat. We didn't speak in the elevator. She just stood beside me, her arm pressed against mine, jaw tight, breathing uneven. When the doors opened, she grabbed my hand, not for performance, not for control, but for grounding. Like she needed the feel of my skin to keep herself from unraveling. We entered the apartment, and she didn't let go.
She didn't even speak.
She just led me into the bedroom, slowly, as if afraid that if she moved too fast, she'd shatter something fragile between us. She unzipped her dress herself, letting it fall to the floor like silk surrender. She stood there in nothing but shadows and silence and waited for me to come to her.
I did.
I reached for her slowly, as if I were approaching a flame I knew could burn me to the bone. And when I touched her, she trembled like she hated how much she needed it. We made love that night, not sex, not anger, not performance. Real. Intimate. Unapologetically vulnerable. She cried when she came. Not loudly, not dramatically, just one soft, broken sound against my neck that told me everything her mouth wouldn't say. I held her afterwards, running my fingers through her hair, whispering nothing and everything all at once. "I'm not him," I told her. "I'll never be him." She didn't answer, but she curled into me tighter, like maybe that terrified her even more. Days passed, and we settled into something dangerous. Something like a relationship, but not. Something with tenderness, but no name. She made coffee for me in the mornings. I learned how she liked her eggs. We shared showers. We shared silences. We learned the shape of each other's breathing, but we never said what we were. She still introduced me as her wife at parties, still kissed me for the cameras, still played the game, but her touch lingered longer. Her glances softened. Her mask cracked more easily now. And behind it, I saw a woman who was slowly, against her will, falling.
But so was I.
It wasn't a question of if anymore, it was when. And when finally came in the form of an envelope. A letter slid under our door. Gold-trimmed. Monogrammed. An invitation.
Not to a party.
To a funeral.
His.
The ex dead. A car crash. A headline. A headline that screamed louder than any of our secrets. Callista didn't speak for hours after opening it. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the thick cardstock like it had personally reached inside her chest and ripped something out. "I didn't think I'd feel this," she whispered eventually. "He doesn't deserve my grief." "It's not grief," I said gently, kneeling in front of her. "It's release." Her eyes met mine, hollow and afraid. "Then why does it hurt?" "Because even poison leaves a scar," I answered. She reached for me like she was drowning. I pulled her into my arms, and she broke there, quiet, unglamorous, devastating. She clung to me like I was the only thing tethering her to the earth. And maybe I was. She didn't sleep that night. She lay awake beside me, staring at the ceiling, fingers tracing idle patterns against my stomach like she couldn't bear stillness. "It's over," she said finally. "Everything I built this marriage on, it's gone." "Then we build something new," I whispered. She looked at me then, truly looked like I was a possibility she'd never considered. "You'd stay?" she asked. "Even now?" "Especially now," I said. "If you let me." Her lips parted, but before she could speak, her phone rang. Midnight. Unknown number. Her hand shook as she answered. "Hello." A pause. Her eyes widened. "What?" she whispered, voice sharp with alarm. "That's not possible. She's supposed to be in Paris." I sat up, alert. Callista stood slowly, phone still pressed to her ear. When? She asked. How long? Another pause. Then her face turned to stone. She ended the call. My mother, she said quietly. She's in the city. Okay, I said, cautious. And that's bad. She doesn't come here. Ever. Not unless she wants to remind me who's really in charge. Do you think she knows about us? Callista's laugh was bitter. She always knows. She just waits until it hurts most to strike. Then we don't let her, I said, standing. You're not alone this time. But she was already retreating into herself, walls flying back up so fast I could practically hear them slamming into place. You don't understand. She'll destroy you just to get to me. Let her try, I said, stepping in front of her. I've survived worse than your mother's wrath. Have you? She asked, and there was so much fear in her eyes I could barely breathe. Because I haven't. I pulled her into me, held her tightly, whispered, then we survive this together. The next day, her mother arrived. Uninvited, unannounced, unapologetic. She swept into the penthouse like a queen reclaiming a throne. Callista greeted her with a voice dipped in steel. To what do we owe the pleasure? The funeral, her mother said, eyes flicking briefly toward me. And the scandal. There is no scandal, Callista said. No. Her mother walked closer, inspecting me like a threat. The man you married to humiliate your ex is dead. And now you're still sleeping beside the mistake you made to provoke him. She's not a mistake, Callista said, voice trembling. She never was. And those 4 words, were more than she'd ever admitted to me before. Her mother laughed. How poetic. You've always had a flair for tragedy. Get out, Callista said, stepping between us. Before I make you. Her mother looked amused, but she left. And when the door closed, Callista collapsed against it, breath shaking. I went to her, wrapped my arms around her, whispered, You said I wasn't a mistake. She looked up at me, eyes wet. You weren't. You aren't. I just never thought I'd. Her voice broke. You weren't supposed to matter this much. But I do, I whispered, pressing my forehead to hers. Don't I? And when she kissed me that time, it was slow and aching and filled with every answer she couldn't yet say. She stopped calling it pretend. Not out loud, not directly, but I could feel the shift in the way she touched me. There was no longer calculation in the curve of her hand against my spine when we danced in public. No more stagecraft in the way her fingers lingered on mine when the cameras stopped flashing. No more lies in the way she said my name when the lights were off and her head was buried in the hollow of my neck, as if saying it out loud made her real. There were still no labels, no promises, but something had broken open between us, and now we were bleeding honesty all over each other, messy and uncontrolled. She started asking questions at night, personal ones. Quietly, like if she asked them too loudly, I might disappear. Why did you stop bartending? Why don't you talk about your parents? Have you ever been in love before? I answered them all with a kind of reverence I didn't recognize in myself, because I knew it meant something that she even wanted to know. That she wasn't just trying to keep me around, but to understand me. To learn me like a language she never thought she'd care to speak. And sometimes she told me things too, like how she hated mirrors. How she used to love ballet until her mother called it childish. How she never slept without music playing low, just loud enough to keep her from thinking too hard. He never asked me questions, she told me one night, her head on my thigh, her fingers absently drawing patterns on my knee. He only liked the parts of me that made him look good. I traced my fingers through her hair, slow and careful. And what about me? She looked up at me. You scare the hell out of me. I smiled, but my chest ached. Good. Why? Because it means I'm not the only one falling. She didn't answer, but the look in her eyes told me I was right. We didn't go to the funeral. The press would have devoured it. She sent flowers instead. I wrote the card. She didn't even read it. A few days after, we had our first real fight. Not about jealousy or the past or her mother, but about something smaller. Something stupid. I can't even remember what started it. Just that suddenly, we were both yelling in the middle of the kitchen, two stubborn, damaged women slinging fear at each other in the shape of words. "You don't know what it's like to be used," she snapped. "Don't I?" I shot back. "You married me to hurt someone. How's that for irony?" Her eyes blazed, and I saw the truth in them, raw and jagged. "I didn't think you'd matter," she said. "I thought I could forget you the way I forgot him. That hurt more than I wanted it to. And now?" I asked, barely breathing. She didn't answer, just turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. She was gone for 2 days. I didn't hear from her, didn't know where she went. I tried not to panic. I tried to believe she just needed space. But part of me, a small, bruised part, wondered if she was running. If loving me, even in silence, was too much for her to survive. On the 3rd night, I heard the key in the lock. I was sitting on the floor of our bedroom, wrapped in one of her sweaters that still smelled like her perfume. She stepped inside, and I stood, every cell in my body screaming, aching. She looked exhausted. Her makeup was gone. Her hair was a mess. Her coat was too thin for the cold. But her eyes found me immediately. "I'm sorry," she said. Just that. Just those 2 words. And they broke me more than anything else she'd ever done. "You left," I whispered.
I was scared, she said.
"You make me feel things I don't know how to control. So, you punish me for it?" Her voice cracked. "I punish myself. I always have." I crossed the room and grabbed her face in my hands. "Stop running," I said. "Stop pretending you're incapable of love. I see it. Every day. In the way you hold me when you think I'm asleep. In the way you memorize the songs I hum. In the way you remember how I take my coffee. That's love, Callista. Even if you don't know how to say it yet." Her eyes filled. She leaned forward until our foreheads touched. "I want to say it," she whispered. "I just don't know if I deserve to." I kissed her, soft and slow and reverent. "You do." We fell asleep tangled together, and in the middle of the night, I woke to find her watching me. "I used to think vulnerability was weakness," she said. "But now I think maybe it's just another word for trust." I kissed her again, not because I had to, but because I finally could. The next morning, she made me breakfast. Burnt toast. Oversalted eggs. The coffee too strong. But it was hers. And I ate every bite. "We need to talk," she said after, sliding a folded piece of paper across the table. I opened it. A tabloid headline stared back at me. "Callista Morvo's wife. More than just a revenge plot?" Beneath it, a blurry photo of us. Her hand on my cheek, my smile soft and private. It didn't look staged. It didn't look fake. "They know," I said. She nodded. "And they're going to spin it into whatever sells." I looked up at her. "What do you want to do?" She hesitated. Then, for the first time since the day we met, she said it. "I want to stop pretending. I want them to know you're mine. Not because I need revenge. Not because I'm trying to prove a point, but because I'm in love with you." I blinked. "Say it again." She stood, walked to me, knelt in front of my chair like the entire world was hanging off her spine. "I love you," she said. "God help me, I love you." And just like that, every lie we'd ever told collapsed. And in its place, there was only truth. Only us. The moment she said she loved me, I felt the weight of it settle between us like a storm that had finally broken. Not the kind of storm that ruins, but the kind that cleans, that clears the air, that makes everything sharp and bright in its aftermath. I didn't cry when she said it. Not right away. I think some part of me had been waiting, hoping, quietly bracing for the possibility that this woman, this cold, guarded, calculating heiress, might one day look at me and see something worth choosing. And now she had. She chose me, not to wound someone, not to win a game, but for the soft, terrifying truth of it. I reached for her, pulled her into my lap, kissed her like I'd been starving, and she just said the word that would keep me alive. "You love me," I whispered against her lips. She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that could start wars. "I do." God help me, I do. We didn't leave the apartment for 3 days. The world kept spinning. The news kept churning. But inside our walls, time felt suspended. We made love on the kitchen counter, on the floor by the fireplace, against the window with the city as our silent witness. She told me things she'd never told anyone, about the time her father walked out and how she never cried, about the scar on her hip from falling off a horse and refusing to admit she was in pain, about how she sometimes dreamed of vanishing completely just to see who would come looking. I'd look, I said. I'd tear down every wall, break every rule, if it meant finding you. She looked at me like that broke her more than anything else ever had. On the 4th morning, the world caught up with us. Her phone buzzed with calls she didn't answer, emails she didn't open. But then her assistant showed up at the door.
Pale.
Nervous. Eyes darting. You need to see this, she said, handing over a tablet. The screen was filled with headlines. Morveau heiress in secret lesbian marriage. From revenge to romance, inside the Callista Morveau scandal. Wife or weapon? Callista scrolled through the stories, her jaw tightening, her expression unreadable. They think I planned this, she said quietly. They think I manipulated you, that this was all part of some long game. Did you? I asked gently, teasing. She glanced at me, something pained behind her eyes. Maybe I did, at first. But now, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Her assistant cleared her throat. There's more. Your board, your family trust, they're calling an emergency meeting. They think this could damage the brand. I felt her tense beside me. Let them think it, she said. It's not their life. It's mine. Callista? I started, but she shook her head.
No.
No more hiding. No more pretending. If they want to threaten me, let them try. I won't erase you. She looked at me then, and her voice softened. I won't erase us. The meeting was held in a private conference room inside the tower her family owned, a place that smelled like power and quiet cruelty. I came with her, not because she asked, but because I refused to let her walk into that room alone. The board was exactly what I expected, men in expensive suits and women with dead eyes. Her mother sat at the head of the table, of course, immaculate and unmoved. Well, she said as we entered, I suppose congratulations are in order. The internet has never been so interested in us. Callista didn't flinch. I'm not here to apologize. You're here because the Foundation's assets are at risk, another man said. This scandal is only a scandal if you treat it like one, Callista interrupted. I'm in love. That's not a crime. It's not about love, her mother said, voice clipped. It's about image, control, legacy. Then maybe I don't want this legacy, Callista said. Maybe I'm tired of being a puppet on a diamond leash. And her mother sneered, looking at me. She's your rebellion now? Callista's hand found mine beneath the table. She's the only thing in my life that feels real. The silence that followed was thick, heavy. A verdict waiting to fall. Finally, one of the younger board members cleared his throat. If the goal is stability, perhaps the best course of action is transparency. Control the narrative, not deny it. Callista turned to him slowly. You're suggesting I what? Own it. He shrugged. Release a statement. Stop feeding the rumor mill. The world has changed, Callista. Maybe it's time we do, too. Her mother's lips thinned, but she said nothing. The meeting ended with no resolution, just tension and veiled threats. But as we walked out, Callista squeezed my hand and said, They won't take this from me. I won't let them. That night, she released a statement. 3 lines. Simple. Devastating. I married her for all the wrong reasons. I fell in love with her for all the right ones. And I will not apologize for that. The reaction was chaos. Social media lit up. Some praised her bravery. Some called it a publicity stunt. But for once, the noise didn't matter. Because when she came to bed that night, she didn't carry the weight of what they thought. She carried only me. I'm scared, she admitted as she slipped under the covers. Of what? I asked, brushing her hair back. That this is the happiest I've ever been. and that something will come to take it away. I kissed her temple. Then we fight. For us. For this. Whatever it takes. She looked at me like I was the first person who ever said that, and meant it. You've changed me, she whispered. Not into someone else, but into someone I actually like being. I pulled her close, tucked her head under my chin. And you've made me believe that love can come from even the most broken places. She laughed softly. So we're both ruined. Or finally whole, I said. And that night, for the first time since we met, she slept without music. The silence after the storm was too calm, too clean, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting to strike again. The day after the statement went public, Callista stayed in bed with me until nearly noon, her arms slung possessively over my waist, her skin warm against mine. She kept murmuring half-asleep things, memories from childhood, bits of dreams, words I couldn't fully make out but knew I'd never forget. I used to think love was weakness, she said, tracing slow circles on my stomach. That if I needed anyone, they'd own me. But now I think needing you might be the strongest thing I've ever done. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was too full, my chest too raw. I just kissed the top of her head and held her tighter. For a moment, we were just two women in love. No cameras, no legacy, no lies. But peace never lingers long around people like her. By evening, the threats started. Not the loud kind. Not the ones people scream on social media. These were quiet, targeted. A business partner pulling out of a deal. A subtle warning about an upcoming audit. A leaked story about a fabricated scandal from her university years. And then the photo. Someone had taken a picture of us on the rooftop 2 nights ago. Her in my lap, her lips on my throat. Both of us lit by moonlight and vulnerability. It wasn't blurry. It wasn't accidental. It was intimate, private, weaponized. They're trying to humiliate me, she said as we stared at it on the screen. Trying to twist this into something dirty. Because they can't stand that you're finally happy, I said. She didn't answer. She was already dialing someone. Her lawyer. Her publicist. Someone with power. Someone who owed her something. I listened to her voice change, cold, clipped, lethal. The Callista Morveau who ruled empires. But when she hung up, she sat beside me on the couch and buried her face in her hands. It's not just them, she whispered. It's her. I stiffened. Your mother? She nodded. She's behind this. I know her style. It's too specific. Too pointed. She's never accepted that I don't owe her my silence. What does she want? Control. Always control. And if she can't control me, she'll try to erase me. I slid closer, pulled her hands away from her face. She doesn't get to do that. Not anymore. Her eyes met mine, and for a second I saw the fear again. The same fear I'd seen the night she told me she loved me. Not fear of exposure. Not fear of loss. Fear of finally having something real. Something to lose. Let me protect you, I said. Let me fight with you. You shouldn't have to, she said. You didn't sign up for this. I signed a marriage license, I reminded her. Even if it started as a game, it's real now. We're real. Her fingers found mine, tangled them tightly. I'm scared she'll find a way to rip you out of my life. Then we make it impossible, I said, without thinking. She blinked. What do you mean? We go public. Together. Not just a statement. Not just damage control. We do an interview. We tell the truth. We show them what this really is. Not a scandal. Not revenge. Love. She stared at me. For a moment, I thought she might laugh. But instead, she reached out, cupped my face, and said, God, I love you. So we did it. We called the one journalist she trusted, a woman who'd once been blacklisted for refusing to cover up a corporate abuse scandal, a woman who didn't care about ratings or headlines. We met her in a quiet studio apartment instead of a glossy newsroom. Callista wore no makeup. I wore her sweater. We sat close on a worn leather couch, hands clasped. And for the first time, we told the story, not just the curated version. The real one. She spoke first. She admitted it. Yes, I married her to make someone jealous. Yes, it was calculated. Yes, it started as manipulation. Her voice trembled. But I didn't plan for her to change everything. I didn't plan to fall in love with her. And I didn't plan for her to become the one person who sees me not as an image, but as a woman with a soul that still aches. I told the truth too. About the beginning. About how lonely I'd been. About the moment she first kissed me, and I knew I'd never be the same. I even admitted that part of me had wanted to be used because it meant I mattered, even if only for a moment. But then she started listening. Then she started holding me in ways that didn't feel performative. And one day I realized I wasn't playing a role anymore. I was just in love. When it aired 2 nights later, the response was unlike anything we expected. The public was divided. Of course it was. Some people called us liars. Some accused her of manipulating me still. But others, thousands, wrote messages, posted stories, tagged us in photos of their own broken, beautiful beginnings. Women who'd been afraid to love openly. Women who'd lost everything to be honest. Women who saw Callista's confession as a mirror of their own survival. I think we started something, she said, scrolling through her messages. I think we finally ended something, I replied. But her mother wasn't finished. Not yet. She requested a meeting. Just you, she said in a note hand-delivered by her driver. If you truly love my daughter, you'll come alone. Callista didn't want me to go. She's going to try to scare you, manipulate you. Let her try, I said. She's not the only one who knows how to hold her ground. The meeting was held at her favorite art gallery. Private, quiet, dangerous. She wore black gloves and a coat that smelled like winter and bloodlines. You think love makes you safe, she said as soon as I approached. It doesn't. It makes you a target. I'm not afraid of you, I said. That's your first mistake. No, I said, stepping closer. My first mistake was thinking you were a threat. But now I realize you're just a woman who's terrified that someone else might give your daughter what you never could. Her jaw clenched. Your phase. A rebellion. A soft place to land after a fall. Maybe, I said. But I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who knows the name of the lullaby she hums when she's anxious. I'm the one who holds her when the nightmares come. And I'm the one she says, I love you, to when no one's listening. And when she gets bored, she asked, then I'll still be here. Because love doesn't vanish just because it gets quiet. She didn't respond. She just turned and walked away. And that was when I knew I'd won. Not by fighting, but by loving her daughter in a way this woman never could. When I got back, Callista met me at the door, eyes wild. Well, I smiled. She knows she's already lost. Callista pulled me inside and kissed me like the war was over. And for once, I believed it. It should have felt like victory. We'd survived the public fallout, faced down her mother's icy wrath, told the truth on our own terms. And now, there was no longer any curtain between us and the world. No more pretending. No more dodging the word love like it was a cliff edge. But peace, I was learning, was not stillness. It was learning how to breathe when you've never known how to exhale without bracing for impact. And Callista didn't know how to be happy without waiting for someone to take it from her. The next few days were quiet, almost too quiet. She spent more time at home, canceled a few events, read old books she used to claim she hated. And every night, she wrapped around me like a habit she couldn't quit. But her silence felt heavier now, like it wasn't rest, but restraint. Like she was holding something inside she hadn't found the words for yet. I let her have the quiet. I didn't push, but I watched. I watched the way her fingers tapped against her thigh when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she stared out the window too long after ending phone calls. The way she flinched, ever so slightly, whenever a notification buzzed and she didn't recognize the sender. On the 4th night after the interview aired, I found her in the bathtub. Not crying, not broken, just still, too still. Her knees drawn up to her chest, her eyes distant, the water lukewarm. Talk to me, I said softly, kneeling beside her. She didn't move.
They're pulling funding, she said.
Who? The board. Half of them. My name's too controversial now. They're threatening to pull out of the foundation if I don't issue a retraction. Publicly. A retraction of what? That you love me? She laughed, sharp and bitter. That it wasn't real. That I was coerced. That I didn't know what I was doing. And are you actually considering it? I asked, my voice a little too calm. Because if you are, no, she cut in quickly.
God, no.
I'd burn the whole building down before I erase what you are to me. Then what? I asked. What's got you this far away from me? She looked up at me, and for once, the armor was completely gone. I'm scared I can't protect you. I blinked. What? This world, my world, it doesn't reward honesty. It doesn't cherish softness. And you're everything they hate, untouchable, unbought, untrained to serve their machine. They'll come after you next. Not with headlines. With offers. Pressure. Manipulation. They'll try to make you one of them, or punish you for staying one of you. I reached for her hand and pulled it gently to my lips. Let them try. I have you. That's more power than they'll ever hold. She shook her head. I used to think I could control everything if I was cold enough. But now I just want peace. With you. And I'm terrified that wanting that is what will get it taken away. Then let's take it back before they even try. What do you mean? I mean, let's disappear for a while. Just us. No headlines. No names. Just somewhere no one knows who we are. She stared at me like I'd spoken a new language. You do that. For a week. For a lifetime. Say the word. She said it the next morning. We packed light. Left before the sun had finished rising. She didn't tell anyone where we were going. Not even her assistant. We drove with no destination for hours until we found it. A sleepy coastal town that didn't care who Callista Morveau was. A place with chipped paint on the windowsills and wildflowers growing between the cracks of the boardwalk. We rented a cottage by the sea. 1 bedroom. 1 bed. One version of ourselves neither of us had ever lived in before. I made breakfast every morning. She learned how to brew coffee without burning it. We walked barefoot along the shoreline, talked about nothing and everything. She laughed more. I started sketching again, something I hadn't done in years. And one night, sitting on the porch swing under a blanket of stars, she said it. I want a life with you. You have one, I said.
No.
I mean beyond this. I mean permanence.
Roots.
I want something that isn't conditional on the press or the money or my name. I want us always. My heart stuttered. Are you asking me to stay? She turned to face me, her hand sliding to my jaw. I'm asking you to never leave. I kissed her before I could cry. Held her like I never held anything with that much care in my life. That night, we made love slowly. Not with heat or desperation, but with reverence. Like we were making something sacred. I fell asleep to the sound of her heartbeat against my cheek, and for the first time, I didn't dream of anything at all. Just peace. Just her. But nothing gold stays. Not when it comes to women who used to wear power like perfume. On the 6th day, someone found us. A drone. One blurry photo. Her in my arms, laughing. It hit the tabloids like wildfire. The escape of Callista Morveau, running from responsibility or toward real love. She didn't cry when she saw it. She just looked tired. They'll never let us breathe, she said. Then we inhale anyway, I said. Together. I should have destroyed the empire the second I built it, she muttered. Instead, I let it own me. No, I said. You let it create you. Now it's time to choose who you become next. She nodded. Slowly. Then we go home. And we do it our way this time. What does that mean? It means I stop playing nice. It means I start building something that can't be taken from us. And what do we call that? I asked. She smiled. Freedom. We packed that night. Returned to the city by sunrise. But we weren't the same women who left. And we weren't coming back to fit into the life she used to live. We were coming back to dismantle it, brick by brick. We came back to the city like a secret no one was ready to hear. Hand in hand, sunburnt from our time on the coast, a little messier, a little quieter, but unmistakably changed. The doorman stuttered when he saw us. Her assistant's hands shook when she offered us coffee. The media was still frothing at the mouth with speculation, but the tone had changed. We weren't a scandal anymore. We were a threat, not because we broke the rules, but because we refused to pretend they mattered. I watched Callista the first few days, wondering if the fire she'd found in that little cottage would hold up under the weight of skyscrapers and legacies. But it did. If anything, it burned hotter. She didn't go back to the boardroom. She didn't put her heels back on. She called a press conference from the living room in a linen blouse, no makeup, hair unbrushed, and said, "I am stepping down from the Morveau Foundation effective immediately. Not because I am ashamed of who I am or who I love, but because I refuse to serve a machine that profits off silence, control, and the commodification of image. You may keep your empire. I will build something better." The room went dead. Someone coughed. The microphones buzzed like they were holding their breath. I watched her from the corner of the room, heart thundering, completely wrecked with pride. She didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She walked away from everything they told her she needed. And then she came home to me and said, "Now we start over." "From nothing?" I asked. "No," she said. "From everything they couldn't take." She sold the penthouse 2 weeks later, donated the art, canceled the accounts, closed every credit card with her family name attached to it. We moved into a sunlit apartment above a bookstore on the west side, walls full of old bricks, windows full of sky, nothing but air and space and freedom. She started sleeping better. I started painting again. The world was still loud outside our windows, but inside, we were untouchable. Until the letter came. A white envelope. No return address. Sealed in red wax. Callista opened it, read 2 lines, and went completely still. "What is it?" I asked, walking toward her. "It's from her," she whispered. "My mother." I felt the hairs rise on my arms. "What does it say?"
She handed it to me.
It wasn't long. "You may have escaped the name, but not the blood.
You're still mine.
And I will see how long your love survives when I take away everything else." Callista exhaled, slow and shaky. "It's not just a threat. It's a promise." "Then we don't let her make good on it," I said. "We've already left. We've already won." "No," she said, her voice going cold. "We've only just begun." The next day, she filed for legal emancipation from the Morveau estate. A full financial and familial severance. It had never been done before, not by someone in her position, not so publicly. "Are you sure?" I asked, watching her sign the final page. "This means no inheritance. No claim to anything attached to your family name." "Good," she said. "I want my name back." She released one final statement. Just 3 words. "I choose her." It went viral in 6 minutes. The backlash was immediate. Hate mail,
Threats,
accusations, even a few lawsuits. But also, thousands of messages from women who had never been brave enough to choose love over fear. Callista read every single one, responded to dozens personally. I watched her come alive in a way I'd never seen before. Not just angry, not just in love, whole. "I want to build something real," she said one night, her head on my lap. "A shelter, a fund, a place for girls like us who get punished for wanting to live out loud." "Then let's build it," I said, "from scratch." She smiled. "We'll call it the Hearth." "Why?" "Because it'll be warm, and no one gets turned away." Within a month, the Hearth had a small office space, a team of volunteers, and more donation offers than we knew what to do with. She worked 12-hour days. I painted in the back room. She brought me coffee. I made her dinner. She touched my face sometimes like she couldn't believe I was real. I kissed her back like I couldn't believe any of it was. Then one night, just as I was falling asleep, she said, "Marry me again." I blinked. "What?" Really marry me, she said, sitting up in bed, eyes wild and bright. No contracts. No cameras. No games. Just us. You and me and vows that don't hide anything. My throat closed. My heart split open. Yes, I whispered. God, yes. She kissed me like the whole world was crashing around us, and we were the only thing worth holding on to.
Tomorrow, she said.
Let's not wait. And we didn't. We wore sundresses and bare feet. We stood in the middle of the bookstore after hours, with fairy lights and a woman from City Hall and 2 strangers who served as witnesses. We wrote our own vows. She said, I married you once to hurt someone else, but today I marry you to never hurt myself again. I said, you are the plan I never knew I needed. You are my beginning, not my aftermath. We kissed. We cried. We danced in the dark with no music. And for the first time, it wasn't about proving anything. It was just us. Real.
Raw.
Radiant. My wife. Again. But this time for everything. We came back to the city like a secret no one was ready to hear. Hand in hand, sunburnt from our time on the coast, a little messier, a little quieter, but unmistakably changed. The doorman stuttered when he saw us. Her assistant's hands shook when she offered us coffee. The media was still frothing at the mouth with speculation, but the tone had changed. We weren't a scandal anymore. We were a threat, not because we broke the rules, but because we refused to pretend they mattered. I watched Callista the first few days, wondering if the fire she'd found in that little cottage would hold up under the weight of skyscrapers and legacies.
But it did.
If anything, it burned hotter. She didn't go back to the boardroom. She didn't put her heels back on. She called a press conference from the living room in a linen blouse, no makeup, hair unbrushed, and said, I am stepping down from the Morveau Foundation effective immediately. Not because I am ashamed of who I am or who I love, but because I refuse to serve a machine that profits off silence, control, and the commodification of image. You may keep your empire. I will build something better. The room went dead. Someone coughed. The microphones buzzed like they were holding their breath. I watched her from the corner of the room, heart thundering, completely wrecked with pride. She didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She walked away from everything they told her she needed. And then she came home to me and said, now we start over. From nothing? I asked. No, she said. From everything they couldn't take. She sold the penthouse 2 weeks later, donated the art,
canceled the accounts,
closed every credit card with her family name attached to it. We moved into a sunlit apartment above a bookstore on the west side, walls full of old bricks, windows full of sky, nothing but air and space and freedom. She started sleeping better. I started painting again. The world was still loud outside our windows, but inside, we were untouchable. Until the letter came. A white envelope. No return address. Sealed in red wax. Callista opened it, read 2 lines, and went completely still. What is it? I asked, walking toward her. It's from her, she whispered. My mother. I felt the hairs rise on my arms. What does it say? She handed it to me. It wasn't long. You may have escaped the name, but not the blood. You are still mine. And I will see how long your love survives when I take away everything else. Callista exhaled, slow and shaky. It's not just a threat. It's a promise. Then we don't let her make good on it, I said. We've already left. We've already won. No, she said, her voice going cold. We've only just begun. The next day, she filed for legal emancipation from the Morveau estate. A full financial and familial severance. It had never been done before, not by someone in her position, not so publicly. Are you sure? I asked, watching her sign the final page. This means no inheritance. No claim to anything attached to your family name.
Good, she said.
I want my name back. She released one final statement. Just 3 words. I choose her. It went viral in 6 minutes. The backlash was immediate. Hate mail.
Threats.
Accusations. even a few lawsuits, but also thousands of messages from women who had never been brave enough to choose love over fear. Callista read every single one, responded to dozens personally. I watched her come alive in a way I'd never seen before. Not just angry, not just in love.
Whole.
I want to build something real, she said one night, her head on my lap. A shelter. A fund. A place for girls like us who get punished for wanting to live out loud. Then let's build it, I said. From scratch. She smiled. We'll call it the Hearth. Why? Because it'll be warm, and no one gets turned away. Within a month, the Hearth had a small office space, a team of volunteers, and more donation offers than we knew what to do with. She worked 12-hour days. I painted in the back room. She brought me coffee. I made her dinner. She touched my face sometimes like she couldn't believe I was real. I kissed her back like I couldn't believe any of it was. Then one night, just as I was falling asleep, she said, "Marry me again." I blinked. What? Really marry me? She said, sitting up in bed, eyes wild and bright. No contracts. No cameras. No games. Just us. You and me and vows that don't hide anything. My throat closed. My heart split open. Yes, I whispered.
God, yes.
She kissed me like the whole world was crashing around us, and we were the only thing worth holding on to.
Tomorrow, she said.
Let's not wait. And we didn't. We wore sundresses and bare feet. We stood in the middle of the bookstore after hours, with fairy lights and a woman from City Hall and 2 strangers who served as witnesses. We wrote our own vows. She said, "I married you once to hurt someone else, but today I marry you to never hurt myself again." I said, "You are the plan I never knew I needed. You are my beginning, not my aftermath." We kissed. We cried. We danced in the dark with no music. And for the first time, it wasn't about proving anything. It was just us.
Real. Raw.
Radiant. My wife. Again. But this time for everything. There's a kind of silence that only comes after war. Not the silence of fear or aftermath, but the quiet that settles deep into your bones when you've finally stopped running. We didn't plan anything after the second wedding. No parties. No trips. No announcements. We just went home. And for once, home didn't mean a penthouse or a fortress of glass and gold. Home meant an old bookstore, creaky stairs, soft blankets, and 2 women tangled in each other, too tired to move and too in love to care. She fell asleep with her ring still on her finger, her hand resting over my heart. I lay there and listened to the sound of her breathing and thought about how far we'd come, from that cold wedding full of revenge to this soft, impossible truth. The next morning, she made pancakes, burned half of them, cursed loudly, laughed when I ate every bite anyway. "You're disgusting," she said, but she kissed me with syrup still on my lips. The hearth grew faster than we could have imagined. Donations poured in. Volunteers doubled. Survivors came in waves, girls with stories like scars, women who hadn't spoken their truth until now. Callista greeted each one like she was building a new world out of every hand she held. I watched her grow into something wild and grounded at once, a woman who had once been made of ice now building fire for others. She kept a photo of us on her desk. Not a polished, public one. Just a candid shot I'd taken of her laughing on the beach, her hair tangled, eyes squinting in the sun. She framed it like a relic. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at it with the kind of softness that used to terrify her. "I used to be afraid of wanting too much," she told me one night. "But now I know the only thing worth fearing is settling for anything less than this." I started painting again, full-time. Opened a tiny gallery 2 blocks down. She came to every showing. Bought the first piece before the doors opened. "Because I know what your hands are capable of," she whispered in my ear. And later, she showed me how right she was. She loved me more fearlessly than anyone ever had, with her entire self, with no apologies, no disguises. There were hard days still. She got letters from her mother sometimes. Unopened, unanswered. We kept them in a drawer we never opened. She didn't need closure. She just needed space to keep healing. One afternoon, we sat on the floor of the bookstore, surrounded by unsorted inventory, drinking cheap wine, our legs tangled together. "Do you ever think about the beginning?" I asked. She laughed. "You mean when I married you out of spite?" "Exactly. You should have run," she teased. I did. Straight into your arms. She went quiet then, her smile faltering in that way it did when emotion crept in too fast. "You saved me," she said. "Not by fixing me. Not by carrying me. Just by seeing me. And staying." "You saved yourself," I said. "I just loved you while you did it." She leaned forward and kissed me, slow and deep and certain. "So this is what it feels like," she whispered. "To finally arrive." At what? Home. Spring came early that year. The bookstore smelled like dust and lilacs. The hearth was opening its second location. And we danced in the kitchen more nights than we cooked. Then one evening, she came home with trembling hands and a glow I didn't recognize. "What is it?" I asked. She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside, adoption papers. "There's a girl," she said softly. 14.
Queer. Scared. Brilliant.
And she needs a place to land. I didn't hesitate. "Let's bring her home." Her eyes filled. "You're not even going to ask questions?" "Just one," I said. "When can we meet her?"
2 weeks later, she arrived. Tall.
Sharp-eyed. Wary. Her name was Emery, and she didn't trust anyone, not yet. But when Callista reached out a hand, she took it. And when I handed her a paintbrush, she didn't let go. We didn't call ourselves moms. Not right away. But one night, Emery left a note on the kitchen table. "Thanks for not giving up on me. I think maybe you're my forever people." Callista cried. I held her while she did. And later, when Emery pretended not to be listening from the stairs, Callista whispered, "Do you think it's possible to finally be everything you never thought you could be?" "You already are," I said. "You're hers now, too." The three of us made our own rituals. Pizza on the floor every Friday. Movie marathons on stormy nights. Long walks where no one had to talk unless they wanted to. Slowly, Emery began to laugh. Then she started to dance when no one was watching. Then she left a painting on my desk. It was the bookstore lit by morning light. Callista curled in the window seat, me reading on the floor, Emery standing between us, a book in one hand and the sun at her back. She titled it Home. Callista framed it and hung it above our bed. That night, we lay tangled together, the three of us, exhausted and full and quiet. "You know," Callista whispered as I traced her collarbone in the dark, "if someone told me a year ago I'd be here, like this, I would have laughed in their face. And now I'd fight gods to keep it." I smiled. "You don't have to. You've already won." "No," she murmured, pressing a kiss to my shoulder. "We won. You and me. Against everything." Outside, the rain tapped against the windows. Inside, her heartbeat hummed beneath my ear. And I realized, finally, what it meant to love someone so much you forget how to be afraid. She married me to hurt someone else. But I'm the one who ended up buried in her arms. And there is no place in this world I'd rather live than right here. Forever. Thank you so much for your support, whether it's by liking, commenting, sharing, or sending your super thanks. You make all the difference here on the channel. See you in the next video.